Thank you everyone for joining us for this panel called Dream Big, Space for All. I'm Lee Steinke with Space Foundation. In a conference full of big dreams and passion for inclusion, this panel has the task of drawing out what big dreams look like and how space brings us closer to making those dreams come true. We'll explore the work for our panelists in space advocacy and building awareness about the benefits on Earth of space exploration, science, and technology. With representatives from around the globe, we'll touch on the opportunities and challenges for women and girls in different cultures, as well as how families and communities can influence outcomes. We've put together a fascinating and diverse group of panelists for you today, and I'll begin by introducing each of them. So let me skip down to who's on the call now. Desmond Foyniu-Wisenyoy is a Cameroonian space advocate working as a scientific research officer at African Regional Institute for Geospatial Information Science and Technology in Nigeria. Desmond is mostly focused on educating and creating awareness about the importance of space technology in aspiring youths of this generation. Desmond earned a first degree in electrical and computer engineering, specialized in electronics and telecommunications from Catholic University in Buea in Cameroon. A master's of technology in space science and technology, specialized in satellite communications from African Regional Center for Space Science and Technology, which is affiliated to the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. Desmond has published several papers in international journals and presented papers in several national and international conferences. Desmond, we're looking forward to hearing from you about your work, but it looks like we've lost Desmond. So we'll welcome him back when he joins back up again. All right. Jonathan Cummings, originally from Kingston, Jamaica, holds a Bachelor of Arts in Culture and Communication Studies from Ithaca College and a Master of Public Administration from the Cornell Institute for Public Affairs, where he was elected president. Hold on, I'll let Desmond back in. There we go. He was elected president, that's all right, of the Cornell Public Affairs Society. Jonathan has significant experience working with international NGOs, operating within the multilateral space and investor relations. Currently, Jonathan serves as a member of the steering committee. Hold on, letting Mohammed in. There we go. Hello, Sharif.
Hi, guys.
Beginning our introductions.
Thank you.
Jonathan, we're in Jonathan Cummings. He's operating within the multilateral space and investor relations. Currently, Jonathan serves as a member of the steering committee for the Alliance of NGOs and CSOs for South-South Corporation, which is a UN-mandated organization that works with the UN Office of South-South Cooperation. Jonathan also serves as the Vice President of the Americas for Global Policy Insights and an Indian-based think tank. Finally, Jonathan serves as the coordinator for the U.S.-China series, which is a platform that promotes rational dialogue on investment, business, and geopolitical issues related to U.S. and Chinese relations. It's great to have you on this panel, Jonathan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
All right. Justyna Pelk is a co-founder and leader of a space group from Poland known as InSpace. As a team, they are implementing projects related to space engineering, mainly connected with Mars and suborbital flights. They won the ESA Grand Prix, and here's Basuti. They won the ESA Grand Prix in the Student Aerospace Challenge of 2019, took 5th place in the Mars Colony Prize in the USA, won the gold winner and winner for 2 projects in the Future Mars Life competition in China, and more. Apart from InSpace, Justyna is also active in other space organizations. She is the national point of contact for Poland in Space Generation Advisory Council, a member of the student of the Polish Space Agency, and a member of the board of the Polish Astrobiological Society. Welcome, Justyna. Thank you for being with us.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, let's see. Find our way to, is Paul back on? Paul's back on. Hi, Paul. Paul Oloduni is the CEO of Space Media Technology Limited and founder and regional president of Space Tourism Africa Society Africa in Nigeria. He was the first African undergraduate to attend Space Generation Congress and International Astronautical Congress in 2005, and has continued to log space firsts for Africa, including the first Space Club, the first Space Seminar, and the first media company to promote space science and technology in Nigeria. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Geography from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Osun State. Paul, thank you for joining us. All right, let me get back up to my intros for Basuti. Basuti Bolo is an endowed chair in educational technologies at Africa University in Zimbabwe. She is also a member of the Advisory Council for Online Learning of Africa University, a Space for Women mentor for the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, an advisor to Space Connects, and an ambassador to Botswana for the International Academy of Space Law, the Africa Space Tourism Society, and Space for Women. Bolo has been working in the field of information communications technologies, space science, geographical information systems, remote sensing and global navigation satellite systems, drone technology and applications, and land and water resources for more than 15 years. Her goal has been to drive change on the global management and monitoring of resources by using these tools. Her passion is to empower women and girls to reduce gender inequality, as well as to get more women and girls to study STEM subjects and to enter the space sector. Ms. Bolo holds degrees in space and atmospheric science, information systems and data management, and geographical information systems. Basuti, thank you for sharing your story with us. And finally, we have Dr. Mohammed Sharif, is an advisor to the science and technology sector at Islamic World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, ISESCO, in Rabat in the Kingdom of Morocco, and he's an adjunct professor at University of Lahore, Pakistan. Dr. Sharif is also a member of the International Engineering and Technology Institute in Hong Kong, and prior to joining ISESCO, Dr. Sharif was serving as associate professor at King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He earned his doctorate from Leibniz Institute for Catalysis and Institute of Organic Chemistry, University of Rostock in Germany. Prior to his employment at King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals, Saudi Arabia, he was also an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, ComStat's Institute of Information and Technology, Abbottabad, Pakistan, a senior scientist, team leader, and head of bulk chemicals labs at Leibniz Institute for Catalysis, Rostock, Germany. Sharif, it's wonderful to have you with us today.
Very much, Lee. Thank you. Thank you to all the panel members here. Thank you. It's a pleasure to join you today. Thanks.
All right. So, Paul, you're a man of firsts. Would you like to start us off by telling us more about your big dreams? We can't hear you yet. We aren't quite hearing you yet. Why don't we switch to Sharif? Would you like to share a little bit more about your passion for space advocacy?
Thank you, Ms. Lee, for giving me opportunity to talk with you people today. And if you talk about this, or ask me about the passion of the space advocacy, so I would say that the more powerful force that drives my passion for space goes beyond the science and the technology. Actually, I am a chemist by profession. So this strategy, the field is new for me, and actually the passion, and it triggered from the Space Foundation. I have a couple of events with the Space Foundation, with Shelley Brunswick and with you. And now, I just changed, and I found that now there is a lot to do or to learn in the space ecosystem. So that's why this is the main reason behind, and the passion, that to see what are the application of space ecosystem in agriculture, in disaster management, and in early warning systems that are needed, are required in the developing countries. And though we are working also in this area, the Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization is to help the people in those areas. So that's the passion behind that I came to learn about this field more. So I would say that, I got this all from Space Foundation. Yeah. So we will talk about it later. Then recently we have also have some a very big, actually, international symposium on space sciences, application and challenges. And you know that thousands of the people, they joined us and then watched. So we will talk about it later. But this is the main passion, I would say.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think ISESCO has 54 member countries. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. We have 54. If you allow me to elaborate, or maybe in the second round or some. Should I?
Well, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about ISESCO and your recent conference in Rabat with Space Foundation.
Actually, this was not the first the event or the first thing what we did with the Space Foundation. Actually, let me give you the little bit idea about the ISESCO. ISESCO is an organization of 54 member states. Then the 3 observer states, Russia and Northern Cyprus and Thailand. And we work, it's just on the pattern of UNESCO. So you can say that this is a UNESCO of the Islamic world. And then we deal with more than 1.7 billion people, I would say, in the field of science, education, and culture. So with the Space Foundation, and we try to explore the partnership and collaboration. And then we started with the international, we celebrated the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And where the Shelley Brunswick, the CEO from Space Foundation, and also Lee, you helped us a lot in that event also, where we brought the successful women around the world. Like we had Nobel laureates there, Professor Strickland, and also the Professor Ahine von. So she is the co-chair of the Presidential Committee on Science and Technology in States. We had also some ministers, the women, mostly. We had except one man, we all gathered the women from the European Parliament Foreign Affairs Committee, and then also the president of the Greece National Tourism Organization. So all they spoke about the role of the women and girls in science. And also Miss Amina Gharib, for the ex-Prime Minister of Mauritius, she also enlightened. She gave also a very good speech about that. And then recently, it's 10 days or 13 days before, we had then we thought, and then we planned about the space, because we were hearing and learning a lot about the space. Then we did in a partnership of Space Foundation. We thought, okay, can we make one international symposium? So we did it on space sciences and on the importance, challenges, and emerging opportunities in the space industry and Islamic world. We wanted to relate it that how the Islamic world can be benefited of that. And the purpose of this symposium was to provide the better awareness about the importance of space technology, highlight the challenges and opportunities available in the space ecosystem, engage the space exploration and related industries in advancing the global space system. ecosystem. And lastly, it was also the aim to develop the technical capabilities in all areas related to space science, technology, and innovation. And coming to end, I would say that now we are also the planning with the Space Foundation and the NASA. We will take also the NASA on board, and with European Space Agency, with Azerbaijan Space Agency, Egyptian-based Space Agency, the Saudi National Commission on Space, and UAE. To all these stakeholders, we will bring together in November, from November the first week, to have the Global Space Sciences Summit. This we will talk also when we will be joining you also in Symposium 365. We are looking very much forward to see and meet the excellent people over there, and Miss Lee also. Yeah, thank you. So this is this. Sorry, I took a little bit more time, and this is what we are doing and not what we are planning. Actually, we are going to have some internship programs. We offer some facilitation, some logistics and scholarships and trainings and capacity building and skills development. Sometimes maybe we can have one complete program on this, and then we can make the people aware about our endeavors. So please, this is what I want.
It's really a global effort. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. Basuti, why do we need to dream big, and how does your work encourage those dreams? You're muted. Can you unmute? It's at the bottom there. Let me see if I can unmute you. I'm not able to unmute you either. As you work on that, why don't I try Paul one more time? Paul, do you have sound yet? Oh, Basuti, you're no longer showing as muted, but I cannot hear you. Can you turn up your microphone or anything? Speak? No? Let's see. Shall we move on to, there's a test you can run, I think, but I'm not sure how to fix that issue. We may have some help from the tech group. Desmond, why should space be for everyone, and how do you spread that word?
Thank you very much, Lee, for this opportunity to talk about why should space be for all. Firstly, we know that every activity globally now depends on space affairs one way or the other. It cuts across communication, it cuts across education, farming, that's agriculture, security, health, banking, research and development. So when you look at all this, we notice that there are people in fields in the banking sector. We have the technologists spread across the STEM field. And also we have the agriculturists, that's those in the agriculture sector. And all these activities, with recent time now, we notice that all of these can't run without space. So it is very important that we all should come together and see on how we should carry out sensitization, especially, I'm speaking at an African perspective, because when it comes to space technology, we are not really booming as the Western world, and we are really lagging behind. So the first thing is that I think is the way forward is to, carry on collaboration with other space sectors, other space agencies on how we can foster the space education by educating the young ones, and as well educating the teachers, the tutors, to have a knowledge about space technology. And with that, I think it will give a foundation to the young growing generation to have this interest, to be inspired. For example, when I'm carrying out my outreach with my group, when we get to schools, when we talk about space, they are so inspired, they are eager to know about space. And in this sense, the tutors, most of them have little or no background about space. So I think we should not just look at it at the perspective in the young ones. We should look at it as educating as well the tutors, like the teachers in elementary schools, to have a background knowledge. And mostly in our recent times now, I strongly believe that if we cut out space from the world, we will be going back to the old ages. For example, in communication, most of what we use now, we don't still depend much on terrestrial communications. We use satellites to communicate from long distances, where we use GPS, where we use GIS and remote sensing, which is a technology that has to deal with agriculture, climate change, and all that. So I think it's very important that we all should come together, interest into space, because technology is the key to this era. Space, being it exploration, being it science, being it rocket science or whatever. I think we all should come together. We can foster this as well. Bring in the government, because we can't do it alone. We are individuals. Yeah, because we need funding, we need security as well. And then we need a go-ahead from other minorities, minor groups like the traditionalists, because most of the times we do face difficulties when we go out. In Africa, you have the royal heads. So to get into their communities, you have to pass through them. And going through them, we need an evidence from the government to do this. So these are one of the challenges that we are facing here. But nevertheless, there have been good progress, because we head to these communities heads at first, and we tell them our mission and our goal, and they are very much interested with it. So one other aspect that we are looking at is trying to connect with like Space Foundation and other space giants. I'm part of SJAC in one of the groups. So we call on other experts and people like you. We all here to kind of talk to these kids, kind of talk to these people to kind of motivate them and tell them that this thing is not just within us, it's a global thing. So with all this, I think it's important for us to come together in terms of collaboration and talking about the way forward. Firstly, I think the government have to have an interest in this, because coming from Cameroon, truth be told, Cameroon has no station in space. Yes. Apart from having a focal point of contact from SJAC, we know nothing about space. And coming from Cameroon, I left Cameroon to Nigeria to come and study at ASTI. It's an institute under UNOSA. I didn't know about it. So one of the issues is awareness, creating awareness. Many people don't know about these programs. How will people be aware that such programs are going on? They are very smart minds, smart young kids with good ideas, good knowledge, and they don't have the right direction, the right foundation to channel this. So we are trying our best as, for example, this forum, it's also like an outreach to create awareness into this area. So I think it's very important for us to keep on doing what we are doing. And of course, most especially, never relent on our efforts, because the challenges will always be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how you've contrasted, we like to say nobody does space alone. We all need to collaborate and work together, but being an integral part of that process is important too for emerging economies and smaller countries to have that ownership stake in the discussion. So definitely want to encourage that. So can you talk a little bit more about your work as a teacher liaison with Space Foundation?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very much excited when I was called upon as recognized as one of the teacher liaisons for Space Foundation. So if I will draw a little bit back, I have a background in telecommunication, my BSc. And with that, I gained this interest into space upon completing with my bachelor's degree. So when I got into space, I realized that space is just one of the best ideas that I've ever done in my life, as per carrying on with my education right up to my career. Presently, I work in AfriGIS. It's an institute under UNECA, but they deal with geospatial information science. So with this now, I thought to myself, I did a master's in satellite communication design, the manufacturing and all that. But remote sensing and GIS deals with using the applications. Yeah. So I said, okay, how can I put all this together? Because it was kind of an opportunity for me to work both with applications and the design. And we created this group, and this group gave birth to the SpaceGate Foundation, focused on Africa. Yeah. So good thing happened. I was part of the teacher liaison, and this greatly inspired me. It gave me the courage. It gave me the bold mind, because there is one thing in life, when you're doing such a thing and you are not being noticed that you're actually doing something, it kind of, breaks you down. But when people are aware of the fact that, no, even the little bit you're doing, contributing to this global space economy, to, educate, sensitization and outreach to this younger growing generation, it's a very good thing. So when that happened, I called up my team and I told them, okay, look, this is not just us. There is a bigger mother, there is a mother head above that will keep encouraging us and keep ensuring that we are going ahead with this. So I came up with programs with my team, and we have drawn a very good program to go out to schools. And of course, Lee, you will be part of it. I've spoken to Shelley. They will project, and then they'll talk to the kids. They will encourage them. Of course, I'll be interested if Dr. Mohammed, Jonathan, all of you will be involved in this, to talk to these kids, to encourage them. Because one thing that I understood is, I'm a Black, truth be told. There is this mentality that we have. If I talk to my fellow Black man, he won't take me serious. Let's be frank with this. He won't really understand where I'm coming from. But when these kids, these people sees that this is a global thing, they see people from across the nation, from different background and diversity, talking about this one focus on space and its importance in the next generation, it will be very good. So in a nutshell, Space Foundation has given me this great opportunity, and I am well encouraged. I am more than encouraged, because I strongly believe that we will go further with this, irrespective of the challenges we are facing here of insecurity, because there's a lot of insecurity now in Nigeria. But nevertheless, we see on how we will keep moving ahead. Yeah, with this.
Thank you so much, Desmond. What a story. Glad to hear that, and excited to see where it all goes going forward. Yeah. Justina, how does dreaming big about Mars compare to dreaming big about engagement in space for women, girls, and underrepresented groups?
I think that space sector is a great place for everyone, because it requires an interdisciplinary approach. So everyone will find a place, no matter if you are engineer, lawyer, doctor, or marketing specialist. And the same is with involvement of women or girls. So as a part of my group activities, I work with wonderful women who show that everything is possible if you want to. And I think that traveling to Mars is the future that attracts more and more people. And we want to work together to fulfill humanity's dreams of taking the first step on Mars. So differences between us don't matter, and doesn't matter what country you are from, what sector you are representing, or your gender. We are working together for a greater issue, and space is a great way to bring people together. And I can see more and more young people wanting to get involved in this sector, including lots of women, and I think that's great.
Wonderful, wonderful. And can you talk a little bit about the Polish Space Agency and how it invests in advocacy and inclusion?
Poland is a part of European Space Agency for about 9 years, and our space agency, Polish Space Agency, is even younger. It exists for 7 years, so our space sector is developing right now. But one of the most interesting initiatives is the creation of some kind of advisory board in the form of student council, which I'm also in. And thanks to this student council, the voice of young generation, including women, is heard, and we have an impact on the development of our still young space sector. So we can take the initiative on our own and change things that are important for us, and engaging more and more people in the space sector, including some underrepresented groups, is one of most important aspects of our activities in this student council. So I personally feel a lot of support in my space activities from various sides of our space sector and the whole ecosystem. And I am also trying to support other people in making their dreams come true.
That's a wonderful story. Can you give us a specific example of one of the initiatives that you've brought forth to the Polish Space Agency through this Student Council Board?
Last week we had an event for children and young students, how to choose the studies to be involved in space sector, and we wanted to show them that no matter what sector do you represent, if you want to be constructor, architect, psychologist, you can still be involved in space sector, even in Poland. Of course, we still don't have many companies that work on space projects, but I think if we take into account that our space sector have like few years, it still is a lot of these companies. So there is a lot of project we can work on for ESA or NASA. And we wanted to show it to some younger people, to tell them that, you can make your dreams come true, and you just need to go and do whatever you want, and then try to do the same in space.
Yeah, I love that you are enhancing the view of space, which typically is thought of as a scientists only or pilots. And I think encouraging people that there's more to the space industry, all kinds of fields are needed, and you can do the work that you're naturally good at, and apply that to the space industry in some way or other, whether it's in marketing or psychology or any of these other accounting, any of these other fields. Those are things that are still needed within this industry. So thank you for that.
Exactly.
Jonathan, tell us about inclusion in the framework of global policy. Why is it important for people around the world to pay attention to space, and how do we make that happen from a policy standpoint?
Well, thank you, Lee. It's really a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the question. And it's really an honor to be here. Truly, it is. So to address the first part of the question on the inclusion framework in the global policy context, I think we have to look at how we define inclusion in what context. Are we focusing on racial and ethnic inclusion? Because, that varies per region and country. In Europe or the United States, racially or ethnically, most of the people in the global policy space tend to be white men, right? But there is a growth of involvement of people from different racial and ethnic and gender backgrounds being involved with the global policy space. If we're looking in terms of gender, we're seeing an increased involvement of women in the policy space, which is amazing. And this trend is very similar to the increase in number of women who are becoming more involved with STEM-related fields. So as more women become educated, go to university, not just saying that people just need to be in university to be involved with these spaces, but you're seeing an increase in more women attending university and enrolling in STEM and policy and business. And so naturally, correlation is that you're going to see more gender diversity in these environments. Now, if we're looking along racial and ethnic and gender lines, there has to be more of a push for inclusion in the global policy space. And yes, the trend is being upward, and yes, it's going upward. But I believe that there should be a little bit more of an effort. But, as time goes on, things will progress in a positive way. I mean, you can't really compare 2020, the global policy and STEM field space, to the 1990s, right? It's obviously a lot more people now. So it's really important. I believe it's really important to have more people with different backgrounds at the table, because it brings in a unique perspective that myself, all these people in leadership positions may not even thought about. Because the perspective that a person has will add an important nuance to a policy discussion. And it's really important to promote an inclusion of different voices, because a person's ethnic, racial, gender background does influence the way they see the world. And with that influence, they can add an important piece to a different conversation. And I can use an example of space sectors, like space policy, right? So with space policy, space is, I can't say it's uncharted territory anymore. We have so many people now interested in the sector. There's a large-scale private sector investment going into space technology, all these things. But in regards to space policy, say something as nuanced as space debris. Now, what's going to be the policy for that? Do we say that the United States is in charge of it? Should the UN Office on Outer Space Affairs be in charge of it? Do you want China or the European Space Station? You know what I mean? So all these new policy issues are popping up. You're going to need different voices at the table with unique experiences to input their voice. You're going to need folks from the continent of Africa. You're going to need people from Latin America. You're going to need people from different parts of different walks of life to give their input on whatever policy that needs to happen. So that's my stance on the inclusion of global policy. But now, as to why people should pay more attention to the space sector, I'm just going to focus on three main points. First, the technological advancements that come from space. It's very, very important. Secondly, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the spike of investments that I briefly mentioned that are going into the space sector. And finally, I think the most important reason, and I believe it's just the most important reason to me why people should pay attention to the space sector, is just because it's a pretty cool topic to be involved in. It's pretty cool, right?
I love that. Yeah, let's just come right out and admit it, that it's fun and cool, and we like it.
It is fun. There's several people when they're young, they just fantasize about space. You want to know about the stars. Not even saying space, you're interested in astrology. That's all space stuff. It's very unique and fascinating stuff. And I believe a reason why people could be involved with it or should just be interested in it is just because they find something fascinating. I know, just following your bliss. That's something I really advocate for. So,
wonderful. And you wanted to talk a little bit more about the investment piece as well?
So the investment and technological advancement piece are tied in. So for technological advancements, if humans are able to find ways to create technology to operate in space, that alone, just imagine what that technology can do on Earth, right? And there have been so many examples of technologies that have originated in space and have been on Earth. For example, artificial limbs. This innovation was originally designed for space vehicles. Scratch-resistant lenses, like glasses for everyone's sunglasses, that came up on helmets. Firefighting equipment, all these things came from space equipment. Something as simple as freeze-dried food. These are all that came about because of space, and that technology has now been utilized to make our lives better and easier, if I'm just going to say it. And so naturally, memory foam, that's something else that came from space, right? So naturally, you're going to have these things that are these advanced technologies that are being created in space that businesses in itself are going to be interested in. So in 2020, Morgan Stanley released a report titled Space Investing in the Final Frontier. So that report stated that revenue generated by the global space industry may increase to more than $1 trillion by 2040. And $1 trillion is a nice chunk of change. So if investments in that sector are going to be upwards of $1 trillion by 2040, why not be involved in that space? Why not be involved in that sector, rather? The reason being is because of the potential technology that comes from developing technology in space. Imagine developing technology in a harsher environment. Imagine what that can do on Earth. Now imagine if businesses capitalize on that and mass produce things. It's attractive. You can make an attractive sale there. You're also seeing a large public sector investment in space. The United States has increased the amount of money that are given to doing research in regards to space. You've seen things in private sector, things like SpaceX being originated, obviously SpaceX. And China in itself is increasing a lot of public sector capital into doing work within the space sector, whether it's research, launching their space station, and so on and so forth. So right now, the trajectory of investment and capital flowing into the space sector is only going to go up. And finally, to my last and most important piece, why we should look at space, because it's cool. I think it's cool. Oftentimes you have young people jumping on a cool or trendy thing because they just find it fascinating. And the fact is, right now, space is getting a lot of news coverage, because we have rovers on Mars now, or the new age space race, which is what's going on, or Elon Musk, we've talked about Elon Musk on several occasions. Yeah, we have all these things popping up. And I can guarantee you're going to see a massive continued interest in the space sector. And we, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, we live in a society where oftentimes people do things because we just think it's cool. That's not a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's now, how do you capitalize on that? Yeah. How do you garner the interest of young people who have a vested interest in being involved with space? Young people jump on various social media trends all the time. Now, we think the space sector is cool. Now, how do we gain their attention? And I believe the way you gain the attention of a lot of young people is to, obviously, this is a little obvious to me, but not to everyone, you have to make it a part of the education system. Yeah. Do you work with colleges, universities, or even high schools to incorporate space study into the curriculum? Do you talk about space law? Do we have a focus on space policy, like that thing I just mentioned about space debris in outer space, or every time space shuttle goes into the atmosphere, the ozone layer gets impacted? How do you encourage educational institutions to take in space as a curriculum? So there are all these things that we need to figure out and incorporate. And I naturally, my inclination is to say that these things would happen later on down the line. But right now, I feel like the time is now. Where the way we're talking about space, it feels almost like when the internet was about to boom, right?
Yeah, we're at a tipping point. Thank you very much for those thoughts. Gintare, I admitted you in the hopes that either Basuti or Paul would be using someone else's machine, but I see that that's not the case. Is that right? Okay, then I'm going to remove you from the panel, but you can still view us and follow along with the conversation. All right. And I think because we only have a little over 10 minutes left, I'm going to skip to one of our questions that we had some good conversation about the other day. In honor of Father's Day, what is the role fathers play in influencing educational and career outcomes for their daughters and other girls in their communities? Sharif, do you want to start with that one? Unmute.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So but can you please repeat the question?
Yes.
What role the fathers can play? Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I mean, we have another day also a little bit of discussion about it, and then we said that the fathers, the role of the father is actually, I find it that 80% the father's role is there in daughters, particularly in daughters' upbringing and giving them the confidence is 80%. Okay, with the exceptions. I would always say that with the exceptions, because you have Desmond also. Another day, he pointed out that there are some mothers who are the single mothers or single fathers. So, with the exceptions, I talk in the generality, in the general, that 80%. So there are some studies actually. There is a study in the Journal of Marriage and the Family in 1999. So if you will find it there, they say that 82% of the studies on the father involvement in a child, particularly in the daughters, that this is associated securing the daughters to the father. Okay, so there is also there is a book also from the Gallen. This is the book is about the secure daughters, confident sons. Okay, so based on this, I would say that the father's role is very critical. It's very important, and this is the most influencing role. Now, how do they in different societies? It's different, yeah. But the basic is the same. I would say I have been living with the German wife for like 15 years. So I want to say that I come from Pakistan. Basically, I was born in Pakistan. I was raised in Germany, but I see that what the relationship my wife has with my father-in-law is exactly the same my sisters they have with their father. Okay, now this tradition and the culture is a bit different. Okay, sometimes the cultural things they also come along your upbringing also. For example, in Europe they are more open, are more confident. In our culture or in this subcontinent culture, it is a little bit of the distance, but nevertheless the effect of the father or the influence of the father for the education, it plays an important role, particularly in our culture, in our traditions. When the father stands by the daughters, believe me, they are 1,000 times more productive. They are more productive and they're more confident, and then really they can go. Then the skies are the limits, I would say. So this is what I can say, that how the father can influence the daughters.
Thank you so much, Sharif. Desmond, would you like to weigh in on that?
Thank you very much, Lee. First, I think Dr. Mohammed has touched most of the key points, but I will just chip in a little. The father's role. First, fathers should not look at, okay, normally we have females, we have male children, but in terms of bringing them up, upbringing, they should look at it as these are people who can have the same career, these are people who can have the same goals in life, the same ideas and all that. And truth be told, there is a statement that is said, what a man can do, a woman can do better. And truth be told, that statement is true, because as a man, in my own understanding, men have this ego. Grown up as a kid, as a boy child, we are confident, I'm a man, I'm the guy. And my junior sister, I have to protect her. Yes, that is good. But these ladies have to understand that they should not just be like the fathers relating to the ladies, the female child. We have to make sure that as they are growing up, they should be aware of the fact that, irrespective of the fact that they are females, they can do the same thing, even more than what a man can do. Yes, a woman puts birth to a human being. That is just already something very big that a man can't do. So, secondly, in terms of discipline, when a female child does something wrong, we shouldn't just pamper them and say, okay, well, it's just a lady, it's a woman, so they are prone to do such things. Ladies are like that. We should kind of remove that kind of ideology, that kind of idea into our minds, and try to understand that bringing up our female child the same way that we brought up our male child, not like in a military kind of a setting, but this will kind of encourage this woman, this grown-up woman, because she will definitely be a woman, and of course have a stronger firm background being brought up from the father. Yeah. And lastly, I would say that the mothers also have a lot of influence in this, because coming from an African perspective, truth be told, Dr. Mohammed said it all. It's the same everywhere. Being it African, the father is the man of the house, as is usually said. And no matter what the woman will say, the man has the final say. Yeah, in most cases, the man has the final say. So these have kind of made these female, the mothers to kind of say, okay, these are females, we are females. They will kind of talk to this lady out of our presence that, look, this is how things are done, this is the culture, this is how we grew up at that time. So we should also try to educate, let's say, okay, maybe the females are not really that educated as us. We should ensure that, okay, we should talk to our wives that, look, forget about what you had in the past, how you grew up, your background. Those were in the 80s, those were in the 90s. This is the 21st century. Things have changed. So when you sit with this lady, just you alone, make her to understand that she can also make it. Don't try to say, okay, look, you are my dad, your dad and I, this is how things were, this is how the world is. No. Yeah. Because if we keep doing that, there would be a kind of disparity. And this female child will grow up being confused. Shall I listen to mom or shall I listen to dad? So the fathers should also encourage our wives that, okay, this is it. And it should be practicalized. Because these children they watch what happens. The way you treat the wife, the way you, for example, washing dishes. This is a man's job, this is a woman's job. No. That's the best thing for me to do, is the practical, not just the talking, because kids do learn much when they see. Yeah. And they keep it in mind. They have those images. So we should try to practicalize it, not just the talking. We should physically do it at home and let them know that, okay, this is how things are done in this era. And with that, it's going to have this building within them. And truth be told, they will going to excel very well. Yeah,
it's wonderful. The acceleration by setting the example with the relationship between the parents when there are two, to set an example for the children is really a good insight as well. Justina, would you like to jump in on this topic?
Yeah, I think that I would like to say about something quite different, maybe not different, but in the same topic. But guys, you said everything what I wanted to say. But I just want to add that the role of parents in shaping the young society is like huge, because parents, like all parents, are the first people who support us and show opportunities and engage us, so we can start to realize our dreams as a child, as a children. And for me, it is very rewarding when I see our events are attended by many parents with their children. And what is even more amazing, that these children know more about space than their parents. And I think that this is the great example that we do not want to worry about our society and space exploration. We just need to keep it, and because this is the best way to maintain this children interest and for space and for engineering. So I think that's quite amazing, and we should convince more parents to take their children to, for example, space events.
Yes, that's absolutely true, that sometimes the impetus of the children's interest can get the parents involved as well, and it's sort of a give and take in the two generations.
Exactly.
Very good point. Jonathan, let's see if Paul can weigh in. Paul, we're just on the question about how fathers can influence the role, and we just have about 2 minutes left. So I'm sorry we lost you. Do you want to talk a little bit about the role of fathers, and then we'll close it out with Jonathan? Can are you speaking now? I cannot hear you. All right, Jonathan, why don't you weigh in on this question, and then we'll give Paul one more opportunity and then close it out.
Okay. So the role of fathers, having your father present is necessary for a good family dynamic. Regardless, it's definitely necessary, and I know I wouldn't be the person I am if it weren't for my father and the environment I grew up in, and so did my sisters, and I see that very present in a lot of people. But unfortunately, this question also makes me think of the endemic that's happening in Black communities in the U.S., across the world, maybe even, where the father isn't necessarily present in the family. And so that does have a negative impact on how children are grown or raised. And I see it happening in my community. I see it happening in Jamaica, from where I am, where there's this endemic of single mothers with children. And I see how, the negative impact of not having a father present in the lives of children are. So it's very important to, advocate for a strong family unit. And I'm really grateful and really happy to see when fathers are very active in the lives of children, their daughters, their sons. So I'm very proud of them. They do play a critical role, and they're very essential to the core family value that people have with growing up. So.
Thank you, Paul. Jonathan, yes, it is a societal problem that I hope we can find some solutions to. Paul, do you want to give your sound one last try? I'm still not hearing you, but and we're about out of time. Thank you all for serving on this hopeful and inspiring panel. I feel like we could have gone another hour with all the discussion that could have gone on, and I look forward to talking with you all again in the future. This panel has highlighted real ideas and action in pursuit of big dreams. Dream big, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the sessions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed, Jonathan, Justina.
Pleasure.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you very much. Yeah.
Nice to see you all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.